we're
live.
moving.
All right. We're going with the flow.
Charles, it's a war of the turds.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Now, as a special reward in the new year to you, you can have as many tacos as you want from this taco truck.
From the Comida truck?
Yeah, I'm sure it's high quality.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes these food trucks can be good. This one...
I tried one of those like a number of years ago, and the next day I was sick for 3 days. I like Mexican food.
That's not my kind of thing.
But why don't we begin on a humorous note, congratulating, of course, the art department for a great poster. But could you see, there's a lot of funny stories in the press, but there's the one where, watch yourself, where after, I guess it was July 1st or New Year's Eve, the French Interior Minister gave a speech bragging about the fact that there were only 600 plus car burnings.
Oh, right.
And that was down from a previous year, and he's making progress in France.
Wow.
And that went over like your own car getting burned. It did not go over well.
But like a lead balloon.
Exactly, and that's like it's the kind of thing that people do. I mean, when they get in the government, they think that they're safe and nobody's ever going to turf them out. Biden's doing the same thing now. I mean, he's trying to claim that 2022 was a year of historic accomplishments.
Yeah, for the Taliban, thanks to Joe Biden giving them all our stuff.
Yeah.
Are you going to get a Bronco, Charles?
I already got one.
Oh, good.
So we could also stop in the Lego store and get something for James Comey and something for you.
Exactly. Get him the Iron Man Hulkbuster.
Yeah.
It's definitely the most impressive Lego set I've seen this year.
Yeah.
And it's only January. But Charles, I think we've got a Joe Biden special cooking. This whole thing in the Virgin Islands where they were like bringing some lawsuit against Goldman Sachs or somebody for doing business with Epstein. And then, so Joe Biden went down there and fired the lady, and I guess the problem is solved. It sounds a lot like what he did in Ukraine, doesn't it?
It does, and I think the whole question of Joe Biden's vacation, I distinctly recall before he went to St. Croix, people, I believe it was Peter Doocy being asked.
Something's wrong, Charles.
What's wrong?
Well, we're not live, it looks like. Let's see, maybe if we just go to the main channel. I triple checked this. Let's just see. Oh, it is live. Wait a minute. It says it's live. I'm not sure what's wrong. Are we live, everybody? We'll find out in a bit. Sorry, Steve.
So Peter Doocy was asked before Christmas on one of the shows I was on, the Brett Baer Hour by a guest host, what are the Bidens going to do? And Peter answered the question saying, well, this year they're going to stay at the White House and in Washington, D.C.
Oh, really?
And then after Christmas, next thing you know, they're down in St. Croix.
So that's a last-minute change, huh?
Well, or it could be I got it wrong, but the point is, if we had a press that was not, reporting for duty on their knees in front of the Biden administration, what can I touch next? We would have some people saying, no, wait a minute. When did he decide to go to St. Croix? Why is he in St. Croix? I mean, where I come from, if you have the worst financial year in the markets,
you don't rush out on vacation.
1871, even if you had a great vacation paid for, you would say, you know what? We're not doing this.
Yeah, we got to stick around
the
office.
Horrible message. Today we have the first, probably not just, you can go that way actually. We have the first
trading day in the market?
No, it's not the first trading day, but we have the first an announcement by Salesforce.com, which is I think a pretty big company.
Yep.
Heavily reliant using the internet and a high-tech company. We have them announcing a 10% reduction in their workforce. We have.
Sure. A friend of mine works for that, or maybe doesn't anymore. Yeah.
And then when my next brother down has worked several places, but he spent a number of years at Goldman Sachs. And when I was down at Goldman Sachs visiting him, I would, he'd take me into the break room or whatever, and we'd have some coffee typically. And he and I are snobby about coffee for different reasons. But we think we understand what is good coffee and what is bad coffee. And this coffee at Goldman Sachs was really good.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't like the partner's room or anything. It was just
We have a dog battle about to happen here.
So in actually related news to Salesforce, Goldman Sachs CEO has announced that no longer will there be free coffee for employees.
Wow.
And that there are going to be substantial headcount reductions at Goldman Sachs.
Whoa. Cutting back on coffee, things are tight.
Right.
Also, we got the
Christmas tree.
Entertainment Bush graveyard.
Yeah. Aren't these fire hazards?
Well, probably not until they're super dried out. But I mean, isn't it a giant waste of trees to just chop them down and then throw them away?
Oh, I mean, that's been going on, and there's a story now that there's now evidence of human activity going back 300. That's doggy. Gotta have my cup
that
of
guy
coffee.
goes in the coffee place with 20 dogs.
Yeah, that's not a health risk. And so the human beings have been around for 300,000 years, according to some new study. And
Still dicks.
Well, and so this celebrating the switching of the equinox and stuff like that is an ancient tradition predating Christianity and predating who knows how far back it goes. Probably started with Og was sitting there and the flint had gotten something on fire, and next thing you know, the whole place is, the entire forest is burning. Yeah, why don't we celebrate this?
Now,
So are we seeing any signs of stores out?
yeah, definitely.
It's like a lot of said signs.
Well, these seem to be maybe coming back, some over here on this side. This is the old office building for 21st century. This is when it was multimedia system design.
Is this when, and is Eric Adams going to put the, at this address, it's the visionary 3D pioneer?
I don't think so. He's
not
going to
yet.
put a little rat runway and let him run in there.
That's another funny. We should begin on a lighthearted note because, we're cracking a whole bunch of jokes, and then we're going to discuss how the world is coming to an end. But Eric Adams' story, he's announced that he's trying to hire a rat czar to
How
deal
long
with
does
this.
that take?
Well, I mean, can you imagine what kind of a person would want to hunt rats in New York City? That's got to be,
Not for me,
it's
but
got to be a sick kind of person. But anyway,
But wait a second, though. It's not like they're saying, hey, we need somebody to swim to Mars. There's plenty of people who exterminate rats. Why not just call the biggest company and hire them
or
the
like
first week?
Whereas Trump, remember the Trump story on fixing the Woolman ring? One version, which may or may not be true, is that the city wasn't getting it done, so he thought, okay, what?
Something weird just happened.
Ice hockey. Who plays that? Canadians. Okay, let me call the Canadian
That's
expert.
a good idea.
And similarly, what country has a big ass rat problem?
United
Apparently,
States?
the Philippines has a huge rat problem, and so we apparently, at one point, they're like experts in the Philippines. We commissioned them to come. They couldn't solve the problem.
Really?
Apparently.
But don't you want somebody from the country with the fewest rats because they've already knocked them out?
Well, I don't know. The country that's had the biggest decline in rats, maybe.
Right.
Because, I mean, I don't know.
Per capita. We want to really spend $2 million doing a 6-year study to decide we're going to hire somebody
That's
from
right.
Queens.
That's right.
That's Eric Adams.
Mo, yeah. But so he's looking for a rat czar. And then his apartment building, and I don't know how big it is, but question, how does a transit policeman or whatever he was, then later politician, how does that guy get the credit and cash together to buy and maintain, and evidently he doesn't care about maintaining because the rats there.
Just let the rats in.
How do you get into that? Did
it
anybody
seems
cut him a
strange.
special deal? Did he get credit he shouldn't have gotten? Who are these tenants who are living there?
Charles, this is a working business. This is the movie theater.
I think the correct tense is was. The movie theater's there.
But this is part of it because they used to always have the movie posters in that glass.
Wow.
But I guess they don't care. And
Doesn't look in.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they just used to rent the windows to advertise the movies, and they're not doing that anymore.
Well, this is AMC. So this is
Stonks. That's a terrible theater.
I went to a movie in there. Oh God, it might have been 10 years ago. The last time I was in that place.
I used to live right down there, so I used to go there all the time. Terrible theater.
Well, it's Methuselah's cousin over there.
He's the projectionist.
The guy in the gray jacket.
Yeah. He's out. He's getting an arc lamp right now.
With his shoes that are too big.
My digital micro mirror array for the laser projection.
And so, Eric Adams was out that horrible machete slashing.
Oh yeah.
He's up there, and of course he has to doll it up, be in the center. That he puts on a policeman's jacket and a police hat, and that ridiculous English and grammar construction. Be careful. Okay.
Oh yeah.
He says,
I just got hit by a wave. We got to get out from behind that guy. Huh. Holy crap! Did you smell that?
No.
I think he's dropped
like
a deuce.
Really? Deuce Bigelow?
It's not
good.
Sorry. So Eric Adams is there.
So Eric Adams is there saying, this is just a reminder that. And look at this poor guy. Every time a police person goes out or a policeman goes out, that person is facing lethal danger.
Well, but it's another time also that the FBI is like, oh yeah, this guy was on our radar.
Yeah, right.
Who the hell is looking at that radar?
Because it's like, boop. They're too busy watching porn. Hey, that alarm's going over there. I know, I want to watch this. This is great porn.
Yeah. He's on the radar, but you're not doing anything about it.
Why would we do that?
They need some more radar operators there.
So
Charles, it's the beginning of the month, and there's this sort of phenomenon of attrition that happens with the subscription sites basically every month. So if people are on the fence, something's always got to interrupt the promotional announcement. But
now look at this idiot going right to the light.
People have been on the fence about sponsoring Crowdsource the Truth. Right now is an excellent time to go to subscribestar.com/crowdsource the truth or patreon.com/crowdsource the truth and odyssey.com/@crowdsource the truth. It really helps me keep the show going, and it's becoming increasingly difficult as people try to destroy what we're doing here.
So, perhaps we could start with the McCarthy, what's his name, Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah, what's going on? Isn't he a Democrat?
Well, so what's going on now is that McCarthy is an adept liar. I mean, what he's doing is he's trying. I've watched him do it now in the last several days. He'll go out and make the argument why he should be speaker and claim he's been negotiating in good faith with these holdouts and paint the holdouts.
He earned it and everything.
But paint the holdouts as being unreasonable and not willing to compromise when in fact it's McCarthy who's unreasonable. For example, and there's this guy. I'd heard him speak before. I didn't really pay much attention to him. Who's now nominally running for speaker. I doubt he only has 2 years in Congress, so I doubt he's actually going to get it. But one of the points McCarthy has insisted on is that dirtbag plastic surgery experimentation doll, Nancy Pelosi, she changed a rule that had been in effect for 100 years that allowed any member of Congress to initiate a vote of, in effect, I don't know if it's no confidence exactly, or a vote to remove the speaker. And that had been in place for 100 years. And somehow,
she got rid of it?
She got rid of it.
How the hell can you be allowed to do that?
Well, no, you negotiate, as McCarthy is now doing. She had enough votes in the House to be able to. Want to go to the other side or this side?
Whatever you want to do.
Let's go to the other side because we have done this one recently. So
it's the farmer's market, Charles.
You need a potato or an apple?
Well, that's apples. Nah. I actually like this. So not all the stuff here is to my liking, but the apple thing is good. And in the winter, they have hot cider there. But so McCarthy is trying to negotiate to do what with that rule?
So McCarthy wants to keep it. Initially, he said, let's just keep the Pelosi rule.
Oh, yeah.
And the Freedom Caucus said, F that. We're different. I mean, members of the Freedom Caucus. Some said, F that. Others are sucking up to McCarthy. And the right to initiate a vote like that doesn't mean you're going to win it.
Right.
And to say that, as people were trying to spin, that if we have this, the Congress won't be able to function and we won't be able to get work done. Great.
Doesn't it make us look stupid that Congress can't get it together to even start?
I mean, we're starting with a group that has like a 10% approval rating to begin with under Pelosi, right? So it's not like we should expect it to look anything other than stupid. But, and McCarthy is just, I mean, he's playing the same Pelosi game. And you don't hear any of these people talking about how ridiculous it is that Pelosi at the last instant, really almost the last day, said, all right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the top salary for every member.
Just terrible.
See, it's $212,500. Now that's a very
large
lot
more
salary.
Money than most people make.
And don't say, and these are the people, the same people on staff, I'm terribly sorry to say, who never read anything, never let their congresspeople read anything that they sign, who are busy writing reports to one another, and they're part of this whole big project to have the illusion of governance, when in fact the swamp creatures are working, the staff are working with the swamp creatures, and the lobbyist firms are working with the donors who are trying to steal as much money from the taxpayer by way of contracts that don't make any sense, or whatever, and it's impossible to keep control of this. And I could say that $212,000, you could take, I mean, AOC was a bartender. She would then have the right to pay her senior staff person $212,000. She could take, I sent you that joke phone call of Joe Biden.
Yeah.
You probably didn't listen.
Jimmy Dory.
Did you listen to the whole thing?
I heard it the other day on his show.
It was pretty damn funny.
He is funny.
I won't do the Biden fake voice, but they're asking him, so who are you thinking about, now that you've decided to get rid of Kamala, who are you thinking of putting in? And he says, well, there's this guy here named Tampico. He's pretty good at finding marlins. Why don't we put him in as vice president? And that's basic. I mean, that was all funny, right? It's a comedy. But it's a tragedy in real life, because that's how this stuff works. I mean, the squad, staff people are picked by the squad themselves. They don't have 10 IQ points among the 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, it's like
added
dopes
together.
hiring dopes.
Yeah, but to pay a dope $212,000
That's what they're doing.
in salary?
That seems like a low salary for most of these people. Consider, I mean, it's high, obviously.
No, but it's
they're stealing a ton.
But it compounds this theory that we are being we work for the politicians. I mean,
right.
That's what they.
That's what they think.
They've forgotten who works for whom.
Did you see that this is now telling us it's a climate clock?
I know.
Did you see that?
I mean, this is like.
But when did that happen?
It's been a while. Been a while.
Climate clock.
It's
world.
probably that the next generation of the real estate family that donated that's got some blue-haired.
But they've changed it to climateclock.world, and then see what it's doing right now. It didn't used to have time and all that. It was like a little mystery that you had to figure out what it was trying to tell you.
It was a debt clock for a while until
that was elsewhere. When that one came in, it's always been telling you the time, and they used to have smoke coming out of that.
Is that right?
Wasn't that like the Virgin Megastore originally or something?
You know a lot more about this than I do. Shall we? I was thinking we head over east.
Charles, I heard Matt Gaetz give a speech that I have to say was the most impressive speech I have heard him give. He was saying if you're going to drain the swamp, you can't have the biggest alligator in charge.
Well, he's right.
He is right. I liked it. It was a good speech.
Yeah, but and then apparently somebody who's opposing McCarthy, might have been Gates, but somebody like that was disclosed a recent text exchange where McCarthy said to this person he's trying to get him to stand down, says, you got to understand, I'm prepared to wage an endless war. And the guy fires back. No, for the speakership, endless votes. And the guy fires back, you mean in addition to the one you're waging in Ukraine? Which is, I think,
right.
Feisty.
And he's got the Ukraine pocket square. I mean, it was so upsetting. I included it in the thumbnail because, what is this dope? Is he Speaker of the House of Ukraine or what? Get that flag off your lapel, stupid.
Well, and now apparently they're in Ukraine. Zelensky's torturing the press. I mean, really clamping down. And there's now more open praising of Bandera, and there are many more openly Nazi folks. Oh my God! this again.
The mitzvah tank. I hate that when they drive around playing that annoying music.
This is like the opposite of Paul Ehrlich, right? Paul Ehrlich is saying there are too many people and the world's going to end. This van's saying, no, Paul, you're wrong. Messiah's coming.
And then what?
Well, isn't that good?
I thought it's the end of the world and blood flows through this. Isn't that the rapture when the Messiah comes?
Again,
Somebody once explained it to me, and he was telling me about how the blood of the Israelites will run through the street, and I was like, well, that doesn't sound so good for me. I'm not sure I like that.
Yeah. That's like the weather. That's like the weather report out in California, right?
Well, this guy was trying to like indoctrinate me into Christianity, I realized. And I was like, listen, this was not the main guy who helped me build the 3D camera, but in California I had a peripheral guy. And I was like, let's just focus on this and save the rapture stuff for later.
Yeah, let's see. After we get this done, then we'll talk.
Right.
Yeah, so now we can, I'm taking you by, I'm trying to tempt you with all these great food options for you. We're going by Sticky's Rib Joint here.
No, we don't need that. But so how can they do that? Just keep voting and voting? I mean, it sort of seems
it's happened before. I mean,
but how are they going to change people? We don't like you now. Why is voting tomorrow going to change it?
I actually think the way this, first of all, they're going to conduct polls. And Frank Luntz, who I think is very close to the pollster.
That supermarket's out of business.
Yeah, that used to be, the food.
But I mean, there's a whole apartment building here. How the hell? I guess Trader Joe.
If there are any steaks left that aren't shoved down these people's heads. But so I think the way it's going to work is there's going to be polls manufactured by pro-McCarthy and anti-McCarthy people. And if it is true that that the Freedom Caucus people are not going to be persuaded, at a certain point, McCarthy's only real option is to, and the progressives or Democrats are not going to vote for McCarthy. So the Republicans' only real option, in the event that the Freedom Caucus sticks with it, or the people the people who are obstructing stick with their obstruction, is to go reach out to the problem-solving caucus, which is the Democratic thing in the middle.
Is that a real thing?
It is, actually, yeah. There's some good people in it. And try to craft something that's acceptable to moderates in the Republican Party, moderates in the Democratic Party, and enough of the conservatives that you can get across the line. Now, that's a really tall order. But beyond any of this, if you can't get this done, if you didn't have
how are you going to do anything?
Exactly. How are you going to get the debt ceiling raised? And it has to be raised.
You want to be my latex salesman.
What's that for?
George is trying to get a job, and he tells him to answer the phone saying Vandalay Industries. And he's in the bathroom, and Kramer picks it up. He's like, Jerry's apartment. He's like, no, Vandalay, you're way off.
Oh, man.
But Charles, did you notice that block there in front of the NYU dorm and the Trader Joe's and everything? That was just like a high concentration of criminal mischief.
Well, there's a
dudes rolling joints.
There's a high school around the corner.
Was that what that was?
That's America's Youth, Jason.
Man, they're just standing there rolling joints and people begging and looked like trouble.
Well, that's, I guess, because the title has the word turd in it. I could tell my story that I might have related to you before. That, as we walk around here, you're vigilantly doing all the things that you have to do to make this thing work, and I'm looking ahead of me to make sure that neither you nor I step in stuff like
turds.
Yeah, and there's a very fancy.
Wow, 64 degrees, Charles.
I know. There's a very fancy restaurant near where I live called 1F by Land, 2F by Sea, and I walked by there yesterday, and fortunately I had my feet down on my head, looking down on the sidewalk, and there was a gigantic, it was like a gorilla-sized pile of this and that. And so then today I walked by it again, and part of it's still there.
Wow.
Can you imagine taking a date or your wife, to that very fancy place?
I see you guys all the time.
Good.
Good to see you.
Fortunate.
Thanks for saying hello. Looking sharp. Take care. Enjoy the day. Look at that, Charles.
That's funny. If true.
Well, how he recognized us. But he looked like he was going to a gangster party or something.
Exactly.
So you got a monster turd outside
Right,
one if by number 2 if by the sidewalk.
That's right. And and it still wasn't cleaned up a day later, and the restaurant had been open.
I'm surprised somebody didn't make a meal out of it.
Ugh. Well, I mean, and then you start looking around, and in this very nice part of the village where I live, people are living on the street, and they're just doing their business on the street, and they don't give a shit.
And
they do give a shit.
Well, right, they're giving too much shit. And then we've got Eric Adams taking a month to find somebody to trap rats.
That guy, I mean, it really has to be an exercise, and whoever's like making fun of people who play by the rules. All right, we got Joe Biden in. We got Uncle Fester in as a senator. The guy hasn't been seen.
No, they had a swearing in.
But he was made no sense apparently at the swearing.
Well, I didn't hear him say anything, but they told him and his family, just put your hands by your sides. And he kept his hands folded, and the kids put the hands down. And it's like, all right, don't do it, whatever.
I mean, yeah. So they probably said, all right, let's take somebody who really should be living in a box in Washington Square Park and see how he does as mayor.
Yeah. We'll give him an apartment building in Brooklyn and fill it with rats.
Whatever. You can go to fancy parties.
Here's a dick on a skateboard. I won't say anything to him,
you.
but people should realize what an asshole.
This is probably not working so well. Another one.
I mean, this is just absurd.
Yeah.
How is somebody not going to get hurt by these guys?
Well, fortunately, you can hear them coming.
Not always.
Now, here's another taste treat for you.
Yeah, I'm not a big IHOP fan.
I'm not either. I'm not a pancake fan. And you got that IG Fit. What is that?
I guess a gym.
IG Fit. And you
IG
got
Farben.
retail space for lease.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
No, it's just we're plunging into darkness. And then I saw something that was saying that there's a new law. I didn't quite get through the article because I had so much going on, but it was saying there's a new law in Chicago and that people should expect, they said mark January 1st, 2023 on your calendar, because January 1st, 2024, this article was expecting some kind of exponential surge in crime because it's becoming super clear to all the criminals that they're just, no consequences, do whatever you want. And I mean, frankly, we see this happening all around.
I'm thinking we'll go down to Ukraine. This is little Ukraine here.
But Charles, people get it when they're watching. My issue with people skating around like that on the sidewalk is that's the broken windows theory.
Right.
If you're going to let those guys do that, then it was like, well, hey, what's the next step? Whereas if it was known that you just are going to get your ass slammed if you skateboard on the sidewalk, people will realize, well, we can't even skateboard on the sidewalk. We're going to do nothing.
Doesn't that seem high to you? 10 pieces of
I think
chicken?
you'd have to be high to eat one of those.
And then that used to be $1. Now it's $1.50.
Well, actually, that does seem like a lot because you can get a whole entire chicken
for
$8.
Let's get moving. Like guys dancing to the beat of a different drummer.
I mean, Charles, we got maniacs everywhere all around us. So this guy's
living here.
All it took for him was a mean face.
Yeah, nice garbage. Prospecting for garbage. Chicken and the egg.
It's the age-old question, Charles.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a dog I know.
Yeah.
In
At
my
least those
building.
dogs were healing, most of them. You know, these owners who let their dog, or go down the street with their dog out of control.
Yeah.
You know. But it's just, and you saw that Ukrainian National Federal Credit Union.
2 minutes.
Closed.
3:28. 2 minutes.
I guess it closes at 3:30, Charles.
It says 4.
Well, she says she has 2 minutes and it's 3:28.
That's Ukrainian math.
Yeah.
It closes at 4. 2 minutes. And no, I'm not going to let you go, dude.
Shouldn't be encroaching on the crosswalk like that. It's a really good way to hurt somebody.
We're going the wrong way down the street.
Right. That's what I mean. It's just so unpleasant now to even be out here. Here's a restaurant for lease.
Yeah, and when honest people see that the rules aren't being enforced, then you get lax about the rules. You say, you know what?
Right.
They won't catch me for this. They won't catch, and it just spirals into the kind of decay.
Correct. Chaos.
And when you, on top of that, force the cost of government way up by these ridiculous, one of those stimulus bills, I think bailed out the MTA again, or bailed out, state and local governments again.
All these bailouts, I mean, how can that possibly work? Somebody's got to earn some money, make some products.
Right. And then you have that, he really is not even an idiot. He's that stupid.
Who?
Buttigieg.
But what did he do
took
now?
his husband on a government plane to
Oh yeah, I saw that.
to the Invictus Games. I mean, you can...
Right, isn't that a criminal thing that we investigated a long time ago?
That's Prince Harry, I think.
Grifting.
Yeah, well, likely, yeah. But the point is, if you have that kind of a title, Secretary of Transportation, you can fly anywhere. You can say, well, I'm checking this out.
Look at this. This theater claims to have 70 millimeter projection. I don't believe that at all. Babylon is 70 millimeter. No, I don't believe that. And there's a new building, Charles.
Well, a piece of crap.
Why would you build that?
That doesn't look like nice construction to me. Not that I'm any kind of construction expert, but it's like, simple concrete and prefab forms. Like slap that shit together and try to charge you $5 million for a two-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, look at all the restaurants that are out of business in the neighborhood.
Thriving. Mimi Chang.
Mimi Chang's.
Want some dumplings?
She's got graffiti there.
No pets allowed. They come in the back.
Yeah.
We're serving you your pets.
It's just quite depressing how quickly everything has deteriorated, and not too inspiring to think about where it might go along this trajectory.
And then there was an announcement today that we've been expecting, not this precise announcement, but something along the lines. Putin's people have announced that Russia is shipping some big flotilla of boats on which there will be hypersonic missiles. And he's sending them to the Atlantic and to the Indian Ocean.
Just sit there and wait to bomb the U.S.?
Who knows?
That's real. He's like, wow.
This is a friend of yours? I don't know that
He's
guy.
probably the Yale, head of the Yale Law School now. That is a big, that to me, let's just work on this. Work with me on this one. That to me, you have the Urban Outfitters sign, and you have all the garbage, and you have a liquor store. If you ran that liquor store, maybe that's their garbage, but
it's a lot of garbage.
That's a hell of a lot of garbage.
That's got to be from the cafe or something. How could the liquor store make that much garbage?
Maybe people just say, nobody gives a shit about where we put the garbage, so come on down, bring us your garbage.
To be fair, for as long as I've lived in New York City, the bulk of the time, this has been not the... you always get in trouble in this neighborhood, criminals and stuff.
Which is why we like coming here.
Well, it's worse now than it's... hasn't been this bad since like college days.
Well, I'd say it's, your college days, I don't know, but...
90s.
Yeah, 90s. I'd say it's, much more graffiti and a downward... downward slide.
No, it's worse.
Because in the 90s, globalism was becoming a real thing, and multinational companies said, New York is the capital for finance, we better go back there.
It was surging, yeah.
And the Dow, I want to say in 89, watch it, 89, 90, they do have the light, was way, way under where it is now. I don't know precisely whether it was $2,000 or $3,000, but it was way, way down. So, you had a period where there was a lot of prosperity, and as my acquaintance who was a big real estate baron explained, one of the practical consequences of 9/11, beyond the death and destruction, is it increased the value of the remaining real estate.
Wow.
A lot.
Really? But didn't they build it all back?
Well, it took time. You went from a place where you suddenly lost, I don't know how many square feet, and you had, if you want to come back.
So it surged everything that was there until they built the new stuff. Yeah, that makes sense.
But the old supply and demand concept that, logic, supply and demand, things like that they don't teach anymore.
It doesn't make sense.
You saw this thing, there's two things. We hadn't discussed this one before. The first part of it is some professor, in quotes, which when I say professor, you should think idiot.
Yeah.
has argued
Kuhn.
that climate change is too complex to
For you simple
understand
people.
with logic,
Oh.
and that instead the only arguments that will work are
Santeria?
based on your emotions. So if you feel there's
yes,
climate change,
yes, then it is.
Logic doesn't enter into it anymore.
But that's what Obama was saying at the Stanford Internet Observatory about disinformation
It's
and
just-
what we really know is true. Right?
Well-
You know, forget about facts.
And then if we think about how do people, ordinary human beings, decide without thinking for themselves, because far be it that anybody should want to do that. How do you figure out what's going on in life? Well, what a lot of people do, they turn on the boob tube,
Yeah.
and they watch the 6 o'clock news if they're interested,
And
or they
believe
watch
it.
CNBC. And if they really think they're educated, they might read The Economist and the newspapers or whatever. And there's a process by which morons get turned into
Academics.
blue checked experts.
Yes.
They right enough. They corrupt the peer review process in academia, and they allow gibberish to get published as revolutionary thought. They take over the faculties. They then pick winners and losers among the students,
Right.
both at the university and then at the Rhodes Scholarship and elsewhere. And all of these labeling things, they decide that Jason's good, Jason got an Emmy, Jason got an Oscar, whatever in your field.
No Emmy.
Whatever, I'm just saying, in your field.
That's good.
All of these people who pick the winners and losers are in on the inside game of saying, you know what, life is short, we're all going to die. Fuck these people. Fuck the power structure. We're the power structure. We
Right.
just do what we want. And we've been taking it as a society. We've been listening to this bullshit. We've been tolerant, and the fraudsters understand.
Whoa. This is a brand new building and they've wrecked it. Remember the last time we walked by here, it had just been built.
Yeah, let's see.
What the hell?
Why isn't it occupied?
I think it was just completed and somebody bombed it with graffiti. That's terrible. This is a shit neighborhood. And that thing is still wrecked.
Well,
Charles, everything is going to hell.
right. And so the first part of the thing was don't use logic anymore. We're out. The second part is somebody published, and they were talking about this on the 5 yesterday and on elsewhere.
Yeah.
That some idiot published in a semi-serious or serious place an article that is getting a lot of play around the world, that if you really want to fight climate change, women
Oh, yeah.
should start screwing shorter men.
Well, I agree with that.
Whatever. I don't.
It's not too scientific, but if there's any rhetoric I'm going to push, that sounds pretty good.
But I mean, it was this sort of an argument. That's an opinion.
How is this NYU?
Is it?
It's what it says.
Oh, I think it's probably the apartments up above.
They just own the whole building.
Yeah, I think
guess.
the entrance is here. Tisch
Oh.
School of the Arts.
Oh, wow. That's.
Beginning to wonder whether you actually
Well, but this
went to
wasn't
NYU.
there when I was
I'm
in
just-
1990.
Yeah. This is the dorm
What
part.
building? But it wouldn't say Tisch School of the Arts if it was a dorm. It's going
It
to be.
says Tisch there.
Yeah, so it's some kind of.
You are here, number 37.
So it's going to be the sound
Right there.
recording or something? It doesn't really say.
Doesn't really help you too much,
Right.
giving you the address. Here's this Apple Bank.
Oh, yeah.
Now look at this. I saw
Crab
this
Apple.
sign. 1 year CD, 4%.
Is that bad?
Well, if inflation's 9, it's not so good, but
Why don't you just give us the 5% and get the hell out now?
right. But so I went and called the bank that I do business with, went on my whatever to see what they were offering, and they're offering nothing.
So that's a good
So
deal.
well,
I
that
guess.
tells you Apple Bank's probably in trouble that they have to offer.
Oh,
Four,
wow.
and, I mean-
see, that's great that you know stuff like that. That's the type of thing that I don't really think about.
Yeah, I mean this. I suppose if I lived in bombed out Detroit, I'd be happy to move here, but
I'm not sure that Detroit is necessarily any worse than this. I was just there not that long ago.
yeah,
And the cops were way friendlier and more professional
right, yeah.
and wanted to help me, but
Couldn't.
you've heard the story.
Yeah.
Apparently, a federal employee could shoot somebody in the courthouse, and the cops,
Yeah, okay.
Not that they don't care, but it's just outside their jurisdiction. That's a real problem. I think we need to kind of reevaluate just law enforcement and the courts and the whole thing in general, because that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Well, we need to. I mean, when I started full-time work in June of 1980, let's wait for a second. The non-military, some rowdy Asian people making noise.
Was the movie about Crazy Rich Asians?
Oh, I love that movie. You've seen it, right?
I have not. What's the self-reliance?
It looks like that's. But that looks like is that Ukrainian language?
I think it is. Maybe that means self-reliance in Ukrainian, but so what is that?
I don't know. Come on in. Maybe. Who knows? But so when I started, the size of non-military government spending in relation to the size of the private sector was very small in 1980. Ever since 1980, non-military government spending has gone like
well, that's the problem that we're faced with. Greedy people chasing those contracts, willing to do anything like destroy, crowdsource the truth, and try and mess with elections or whatever the hell they're trying to do.
And it's also, I think, another thing that you can't necessarily blame on government, although we could take the viewpoint that maybe you should incentivize citizens having children. But the age structure of the population changed in a way that has never occurred before in this country, where the senior group is a dramatically higher percentage compared to the active 25 to 54 prime cohort. Those are the people who really do generate the bulk of money.
Right.
Normally, if you add up their activities, they generate the bulk of all spending. Happy New Year. And that group has not grown as fast as it did in the 82 to 99 time frame.
And it capsizes it quickly, right? Because the older are top heavy on the resources and not generating any income.
Exactly. And living longer. And a lot of the initial, like for example, the initial calculation of Social Security from memory, you got the benefits at age 65, but the median age of death then was 62 or something like that.
So that was a good deal. Most people weren't getting the money.
Well, right, yeah. And who knows what it went for? Probably nothing good.
Not a good deal, but from an actuarial standpoint, that made sense.
But now
we're out of that.
We're living longer. And also the other trick is you can get disability style Social Security if you have a crooked person working with you claiming that you're entitled to it, and you can start tapping into that on disability way before age 65. So
people love doing crap like that. You know, somebody who when 21st Century 3D was running into financial, close to the end, one of the employees decided he was going to help me out by quitting.
Right.
And I was like, wait a minute, your paychecks are still getting paid. That's not helping me. So he left. And then months later, he calls me. He's like, hey, could you sign this document that said that I was laid off because there was no work? And I said, no. Who do you think pays the unemployment insurance, dick? You shouldn't have quit if you wanted money. Get out of here.
Oh, boy.
People don't understand how stuff works.
Well, does it work?
Well, or that. They just have their own crazy ideas.
Yeah. So I think it's maybe we should do a show on this comparative crime statistics. I wonder if crime rates per capita are worse in Timbuktu or worse in Manhattan.
I would say Manhattan.
Well, I don't know, man.
What goes on in Timbuktu?
That's Mali. There are ISIS-style rebels and stuff.
Oh, really?
Speaking of crime.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if ISIS-style rebels count as crime. Oh,
That's interesting stuff. This is probably from a big sale, Jason.
It's oak showcases and tables, if you need that. Do you have any oaks you want to showcase, Charles? You just go over to your place and it's all these glass cases filled with trees.
That's right.
You're like, what is this?
That doesn't look terribly Malian to me.
Terrible is the operative word.
That looks more like Indian or Thai or something.
That looks like somebody made that.
Maybe it's just the name Timbuktu.
26th Street.
It's
a big sale.
People are pouring, they're like knocking each other over. By the way, you were the one telling me about that Waffle House fight.
Oh, that girl is famous now. They
she was on
fired
Tucker.
her. Oh, was she?
Yeah, she was on
I
Tucker
saw
last
she
night.
started a Twitter account and somebody drew like a superhero picture of her like blocking the chair. I think that girl should get like a UFC contract or something. She's going to be famous from that.
She's famous already.
She's tough as nails. She's like 5 feet tall and blocking chairs.
Swatting chairs.
Yeah, it's amazing. She must have brothers
Exactly.
beating her up when she was little.
Now, what's this place here? I can't read the sign.
Roasties or something?
Is it Rosie's?
Rosie's?
Doing a thriving, Rosie's. Doing a thriving business. Not so much.
Well, it's a big spot. Oh, it's empty as hell.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting, Charles, is when people walk towards us, blocking
think.
their faces when it's looking, and then they come around the back and look at it, and it's like, I mean, your whole point is you didn't want to get on the video, and you just
got on the video.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we're dealing here. I'm not all that hopeful about the next rising generation of kids coming out of high school and going to college.
I share that sentiment. It's not good.
This place does not seem to be in business.
I mean, this is just terrible.
This used to be this used to be. Oh no,
It was that.
is that some studio? What, was this like a nightclub or something?
I think so. I don't know.
God
It
almighty.
smells like fresh spray paint around here.
What is a tender dog?
It's a chicken tender on a hot dog bun.
It's like
What an
more
invention.
smoke more weed, come up with a better idea. So maybe we'll walk up that street that Monty's is on.
Sure.
And go into the Washington Square Park and see what
Yeah,
Joe
that's a good
Biden's
idea.
cabinet is deciding to do on those cardboard boxes.
So Laura Loomer is back on Twitter, kind of like totally tearing it up, and very anti-McCarthy, very anti-MGT. A lot of anti-MGT stories coming out about she had some affair and is getting divorced.
Well, but now MGT, wasn't she a firebrand conservative, and now she's supporting McCarthy?
Yes, that's Laura's beef with her, and I agree. That's what's going on. And Trump, what the hell is he doing
Period.
endorsing? Right, he's making so many bad mistakes. I mean, I want to support him to get election integrity and to figure out what the hell is going on at Twitter and what the hell went on with Hillary Clinton's emails and the Russian nonsense that they haven't even gotten to in the Twitter files yet. But, I mean, he's saying some things that are like pretty deal-breaker-ish.
Yeah, I don't, this whole idea of, I still am getting, and I don't unsubscribe because I want to see what they're up to, but I get 5 to 10 emails.
To Charisse Ortel?
None of those. It was Charisse. It wasn't even Ortel, it was Charisse something else. But I get these emails, my father says you are one of his most loyal supporters, and here's a 10-to-1 match if you do this by midnight.
That's the Prince of Nigeria?
No, that's Eric Trump.
Oh my God.
His name. And I think what happened is, in the very beginning...
You sent $20?
No, I have not sent a penny to Trump or anybody. But recently, last time I wrote a check to anybody, I believe it was for shit Romney, and that was like 30 plus years ago. But
what were you thinking?
Not much. One of my better friends was in business with him, and we walked in here before, and remember it was so sketchy. I said, let's turn around and get out of here.
Yeah.
If you go in that way.
Yeah.
So I propose that we keep going this way.
No. I'm just saying that was one of those big restaurant supply places, and now it's totally closed and graffitied up.
That's called progress, Jason.
Right.
More progress.
Maybe the rat killer is in there.
Right.
Eric Adams should go scope it out.
So I got off my train of thought there.
You sent $30 to Mitt Romney.
No. So the Trump, I know, the Trump allowed himself, and maybe he watches his money. Maybe this fundraising machine came along to him and said, listen, we can raise a lot of money for you and for the Republican Party. Money is king. And it's not going to cost you anything. These contracts that let's go over here for a second. These contracts that, the guy following us.
Yeah.
Those contracts that we've seen, that these fundraising contracts that the American Conservative Union got into trouble with, I think
He's
he may
looking
have.
at us. What is this guy doing?
Well, we'll leave him alone. Just don't
I'm not going to
engage.
say anything, but he just looked back at us and he's looking at the phone.
Let's go around the corner.
Let's just watch what he does.
Oh, he's taking a taking a picture of the video.
Maybe. But it also gives him a good reason to stand there while we stand here. Let's see when he starts walking. So maybe that's free with all these contracts.
So he allowed himself to get hooked up, and the way those contracts work is they say, you know, you can we will continue to fundraise until our bill is paid, and they pile the bill on. You know, each fundraising solicitation, they pad the bill, so you hardly ever pay it off. So maybe he got hoodwinked with that. But a guy with as much money as he used to have to you know, be relentlessly fundraising when he was so adept at getting free publicity. I mean, I first kind of changed my mind on him when I used to watch Fox and Friends, which I have now not watched in years. But he would come on every Monday morning at 7:30, and the three people on that show would allow him to spew forward his prescription for how to save America, and you know, he was on air sometimes for half an hour in the morning.
Well, Rupert Murdoch doesn't like him anymore.
I guess not, but the point is that that was a
Look at
hell
a traffic stop. Have you ever seen that before in the city? Oh, we went through a red light. Yeah, that's the most dangerous thing happening right now.
Right.
That happens every 5 seconds.
I know. Yeah. Well, not here, not on that guy's watch.
So Trump, he's doing all this money raising. Do you think it's just a cash grab to then be like, oh yeah, I'm not going to run?
I think he's probably sincerely cheesed off and believes that because he probably doesn't talk to too many critics. He believes that only he can save the country, and he's just getting more and more angry that the job of saving the country is going to be so much more difficult in 2025 than it was in 2017.
Unbelievable.
And
it's true.
Yeah. But I really wish that he'd get it. He'd have the. I mean, he is supposedly a fighter, and we saw him in action for part of his presidency. He made some mistakes. He's paying dearly for them now. And one would hope that a guy like that, if he announced to be president, he says he's running.
He doesn't seem to be doing enough, though.
Right, that's my point. So what's he doing? Who's his team? And how come the people who are getting him to do these stupid things like supporting McCarthy? I mean, McCarthy to me is a worse candidate by far than
A lot of crime going on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. He's a worse candidate by far than Paul Ryan was.
Yeah, right? I agree with that.
You know, and so at least Paul Ryan.
Why is Trump endorsing him?
I don't know. I just don't know. I have no clue.
I don't know, Charles.
See that guy who was like, "Don't take my picture."
Is that what he said?
I mean, I don't know what he said because he was speaking mumbo jumbo, but
communicating with the aliens.
Yeah.
So that, which used to be Gaseteria.
I have no idea.
I think that whole corner, that was that. So they got rid of that.
Look at this guy doing a wheelie on that bike.
I don't think those are legal to ride in the city.
You should not ride a dirt bike with those tires on asphalt. That's
but
really
also the
dangerous.
muffling of it, I think, is not legal.
Right, but dirt bikes with those tires on asphalt, they do not grip the way they grip on dirt. And you know, in water, and that tire, and popping a wheelie.
The guy looks like he's got a risk profile that you and I might not.
We might not have to worry about him for much longer.
Right.
Taking a bike down into the subway, and who knows what he's going to do down there.
So let's see what's concerning people in the Trump Global Initiative.
No way.
No, it's just somebody joking. But so what's going to happen with Davos? What's his name? Schwab said something objectionable this morning. I can't remember right now.
Well, yeah, that China is a good model for other countries to follow.
No, it was something else. It was
Schwab is really.
Oh yeah, you shouldn't own a car. That's what he said.
Yeah. Okay. After you, Klaus.
You have no right to own a car, he said.
Yeah, Klaus, after you, bud.
Right.
You have no right to venture an opinion about what I'm going to do
it's about
inside
to
my.
rain.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we should.
Head towards the park.
Yeah.
It was supposed to not rain until much later. First, it was planning to rain all day, and then they decided not to later.
loud
But
in
maybe
there?
it's changed its mind. It's a nice sound system in that van.
That thing. I mean, I think that guy has any eardrums left. I mean, that's fucking. Maybe we should let's go down if we can to
Sure.
that street because it's going to be more interesting to see more.
Should we go see if Hunter Biden's art gallery is raging? I don't think there's anything interesting going on there.
I frankly don't want to give that asshole any more
Yeah.
airtime.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, so the Twitter files dropped some more, and now they're getting back to 2017. I realize, Charles, it does seem probable that they will eventually get to where we are in the 2007 kind of range of how this all got started. But it was interesting that they reactivated, I guess today or yesterday, Paul Sperry. He has historically done some very good reporting.
Yeah.
And now he was the one, you know, Elon Musk, Matt Taibbi published that email where it's Adam Schiff's office saying, hey, these 12 people we don't like, get rid of them.
Yeah, but I mean, that's
and at first they're like, oh, no, we don't do that. And then it's a few months of like FBI and CIA people convincing them that, yeah, you do. And then, boom, they just got rid of everybody.
But, again, I don't think our tax dollars should be used to allow partisan fuckwads, which Schiff is, to be deciding who gets to exercise free speech rights.
It's boldly unconstitutional.
Yeah.
He has absolutely no legal authority to do it. He should be brought up. Paul Sperry should sue that guy. You can sue an employee of the federal government for obstructing your rights. And I mean, he should do that.
Yeah.
Look at this.
This is that new building that
What new building?
your university is. It's a big complex that goes all the way. We walked.
It's NYU?
I think so.
Wow.
Another argument to pay $70,000 a year to go to NYU.
That's just not worth it.
Is it worth 30?
No. I mean, I appreciate.
I mean,
Having
Yale
gone
is not
there.
worth 30. I'm not making a rivalry.
Yeah,
point.
I just think people are getting ripped off. I mean, I think I told you I had a conversation, saw some friends of mine, and this was already over a year ago. She's in college now, but my friend's daughter was like thinking about college, and I was like, listen to me, I think it's a waste of money. And her father was like, hey, I was like,
you go
I'm trying
into
to help you.
When you go into listen to me mode,
Yeah.
that's what you better listen. So let's take the Twitter files for a minute. What's I think interesting is that Musk is going full on against Fauci and the people who crammed the Fauci and Birx and other the narrative down our throats. And this is going to be really interesting to see how this ends up because again, I have my I'm squeamish and all that kind of stuff, and I don't like talking about health that much, but I just, as you did, we both, from different perspectives, smelled major rats early on. And one of the things that I think, one of the reasons you're perpetually getting hit is that it prevents us from going back easily and saying, we said this on this date. Now unions are coming after we've been so much.
There's little doubt in my mind, Charles, that is a major reason why they want to strike and attack the channels, because it breaks the continuity of the timeline of what we are discovering. And their goal, of course, is to completely destroy the public's access to it.
Right.
I've been working hard to keep these videos alive on odyssey.com/ at Crowdsource, The Truth in Other Places, but that is definitely what they want because these things are coming up in the lawsuits now, and I'm starting to connect things together in a way that if I hadn't preserved these things, there'd be no way to reconstruct it, and frankly I wouldn't have been able to even figure it out because these assets would all be gone. But luckily my background in digital production makes me extremely scrupulous with the backup and storage of assets and everything. I mean, sometimes I miss something, but I try not to. Whereas most YouTubers are just blasting stuff out live, and you delete their channel, they never see it again.
Right, and so much of what we do is evidence-based.
Right.
I mean, there are some humorous things we've done in there, but
when we're getting serious, we are not just saying like, hey, maybe this is, this is some whatever. It's got to be evidence-based. So Twitter drops.
So the Fauci strand is interesting because Musk is basically taking a hypersonic weapon to the swamp on that, and he's doing it with a lot of experienced journalists. We'll see how deep they go. And then the other one, the degree to which the State Department used this global engagement group and
that's
others,
bad news.
I think we're going to find Hillary and Obama's leadership, not they themselves, but their teams, how they used taxpayer resources to
tax exempt
but taxpayer U.S. government money channeled to nonprofits to sell and amplify using Twitter the false Russian collusion delusion. And it's really going in there. And I think the more you pull on that, once you start asking the all-important question, why, you will get to the heart of the issue. I mean, they're
what do you mean?
Well, why paint Trump as a Russian agent? Because you don't want people looking into which foreign government powers are financing Obama, Clinton, Bush, and others. You just don't want, they didn't want Trump, while being president, to be able freely to go and, take those stones out of the dirt and look at the worms underneath. They didn't want any of that.
I think there was that's correct, I agree. I mean, correct as far as I know. But I think there's more to it as well, because Trump came in there, they expected Hillary to carry on with what Biden has been doing. So mess up Afghanistan, start this war in Ukraine, all that. And when Trump got in there, it became incredibly important for them to, first of all, obstruct him from doing anything constructive with Putin that might have normalized economic relations or clarified the situation of what the hell is going on in Ukraine. And so they couldn't have that, but also look at what they've done. Trump is now rooting for the guy who wants to destroy Ukraine. When he's given speeches about it, he's talking tough about how, well, this wouldn't have happened, but if I become president now, he's not going to soften up and say, okay, Russia, because then everybody will just say, oh, see, he's a Russian agent. So they're always trying to create these catch-22 situations where whatever you do, you look like an ass in their plan.
Right.
And, oh, man, look at this, Charles. We got a Baphomet Toyota here, or whatever this is.
Is that what that
Nissan.
is?
Yeah.
Belly
Musk dressed as for Halloween, which was a very weird choice. A lot of people still think that this is a ruse. I don't know. I hope not.
Yeah. So
Russia, they wanted to cover it up so that Trump couldn't unturn the stones.
I think we're going to have to go back quite a ways to understand the full context, if it's possible to do so. But the project to sell globalism and to diminish national governments is a project that's been in process for decades and accelerated under Bill Clinton. And then really under George H.W., then Bill Clinton. I don't think Reagan was all in for that.
I don't think Reagan knew what was going on. I know people don't like it when I say that, but I think he was mostly the
But H.W. put us on, with that ridiculous, what did he call it? It's some plan for
1,000 points of light.
That was stupid, but there was another one like it for globalism. I forget
New World Order.
New World Order, yeah. So he was all in for that, and Clinton was all in for that while president. And then when W. Bush was selected, according to Hillary, that's when they decided that they go ahead and they would the swamp, that is, they would really enfranchise the global governance process by giving a lot of money to the Global Fund, expanding the UN-related organizations, pushing their multinational friends to embrace the World Economic Forum and all this rubbish. And it manifestly hasn't worked. I mean, just in the short time you and I have been working together,
things have gotten terrible.
Things are so much worse now than they were in 2016.
Yeah.
And that was under Obama, 16. It was pretty bad under Obama. I mean, Obama, people talk that the Obama 8 years were remarkable because of the economic recovery. That is just such rubbish when you look at actual data published by Obama. It's as if these people...
Well, his economic situation improved a lot.
Right, as did Clinton's, as did the Bushes, as did Pelosi. But when you actually look, and I think most people don't have any wealth, so forget about the stock market, forget about your house. Most people don't own their homes outright; they borrowed, and that's going to be hurting this year and next year. But if you just look at the aggregate amount of income generated by people in the private sector, the real private sector, not academia, not the health bureaucracies, but the businesses like yours and others that are competing against other private sector businesses, streams of income from salaried employees in those businesses and owners of those types of businesses that just have not grown anywhere near the rate that government spending has grown.
Or they're going out of business.
Exactly. And
just look around.
Yeah, and this is, I think NYU, maybe it's not back yet, right?
I think it is.
I know that at Yale we didn't come back until the second or third week of January typically, but anyway.
Oh, maybe that's right, for the Christmas holiday.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe that's why it's so light now.
I'm surprised nobody has stolen this TV yet.
Yeah, probably.
That's
well,
crazy.
we can't say that. We don't know where this TV originally came from.
Maybe they stole it.
Right.
Oh, now, I think Andrew Weissman is hanging out in one of these buildings teaching NYU law.
Teaching grift?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually looked up what class it is that he's teaching.
It'd be pretty funny to actually
audit
put
his
together,
class?
Well, no, to put together a course syllabus for, getting an LLM in corruption and graft.
Yeah.
I like to be the professor of fraud.
Yeah.
Shakedowns.
Freudian slip.
Exactly.
Swindles.
Sigmund Fraud.
Yeah. Swindles. Cons.
Yeah, you got to take swindles domestic before you can take them swindles international.
What, does grifting come before swindles, or?
I think
grifting is petty swindling.
I think
what it's
what we
defined
do,
as.
Jason, is we hire McKinsey to tell us what.
Right, exactly. 2-year study, $10 million. We're going to hire this guy from Queens. That's the study.
Oh, we're going to hire Methuselah. Let's see if
he
he's
might
here.
live in Queens. We don't know.
Oh, he lives in the center of Washington Square Park.
He's more of a Staten Island guy.
No, he lives right here in Washington Square Park.
I'm kidding. He vacations here. He summers in Washington Square Park. He lives in Staten Island.
We'll see. He's probably a billionaire.
Wouldn't that be hilarious, Charles? You hang out by that little chess heroin section and be like, oh, I actually summer in Tompkins Square in a pile of crap.
I don't know if you know about the Social Register?
No.
The Social Register is a book that, a list, maybe we'll go in there and diagonally just so we give people a chance to see how bad it is.
Something odd in here today, right?
Yeah, the Social Register is a book that lists, the society's, important families, and it tells you the mother, the father, where they went to school, what clubs they're in, their children's names, and all this kind of stuff. You could do something like that for Methuselah.
the Washington Square Park Registry
of hobos.
Oh, yeah, distinguished hobos.
That's right. We can have the distinguished hobo speaking series.
Have like those super high-res portraits of them. Right. You see every pore.
Yeah. Every postule.
Like,
That's right. How to take a crap in front of an elementary school class.
Wait, it says low battery. It's not supposed to say that. The battery thing must have come. Oh yeah, there it is. No, that'll come back. Must have come unhooked somehow. But, sorry.
So this is, I know that some elementary schools are back, and typically when I was, 7, 8, on a day like today when it's warm, you'd finish school if you're back, and then you play in Washington Square Park like those kids are playing.
But you know what I think is happening?
What?
This is like sort of fall weather in winter, so there's a strange unusualness to, first of all, the number of people who are even coming out.
Right.
I mean, this is weird.
Yeah. This guy's talking to Biden.
Yeah, he's got a whole thing going on.
And what's that over there? What's that person with a
sign?
What do you want to see what it says? Because it may not be that threatening.
Sure. It says,
for TikTok, YouTube, Human by Ileana. 1 to 2 minute
I guess she wants
questions.
you to do something.
Do
Do you want to participate in it?
I don't know.
I don't think so, yeah.
But remember, this Mr. Holly used to be there.
Really?
Yeah.
When did they move that? I might remember that.
Long time, maybe before.
Maybe not then.
Yeah. Well, it's smarter because it blocked. And now it's an open view into the park, and here, oh God,
This guy's driving really fast, not looking.
idiots.
See, if I was the mayor, there would be people stationed in the park with bats, and it would say no batting
Swing
practice,
batter.
no batting practice, and no bicycles. And if you came in with a bicycle, batting practice would ensue. But it would be the cops, so it would be legal. Right? We'd create national security batting letters, and then you'd just be like, one bicycle, pow!
And then you'd send the bike back to the parents with a bill.
Right.
So you're not watching
Wait,
your
is
kids.
this a mime?
I don't know.
Is that person a mime?
I don't know.
Just
there's-
got the uniform.
No, there's a park person in green talking to
Talking to the weed guy.
Trying to say the best for me, man.
Right, is he taking his cut? Like, yeah, 10% for the house.
There's another weed truck. And
Where?
then here, weed guys.
Yeah, little desk, weed desk.
And then
More guys not looking on the bike. I mean, they've taken over this park, Charles. People who want to break the law have taken over the park to the extent that, you know, these people are like, yeah, whose streets? My streets.
That guy on the bike is like a scout. You know, he comes. You've seen him before. He's like, let's not let him see where. Now this is another holiday graveyard.
Yeah.
It's a big one. It goes all the way around the corner. Now, all you do is you take some gasoline, put it on this.
No, we're not suggesting that anybody.
I'm just saying that. But I mean,
But would trees burn if the
with
you know, isn't
gasoline
it
on it?
moist?
You bet.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a smart thing to leave there.
But that's on a more nice and hopeful note. That's pretty.
That is nice.
Don't they generally take the tree down right after Christmas?
I guess
Yeah.
not this one. You'd have to actually have somebody who was going to work.
They have McKinsey studying the issue.
Well, they're just too busy standing around, smoking weed, texting.
They paid McKinsey to study it. You know,
It even says, drop your tree here.
yeah,
The fountain, they have a sign that says, drop a deuce here.
you could pick up your free mulch on Saturday, January 7th or Sunday, January 8th.
Well, who needs mulch in New York City?
I don't know.
What are you going to do with that?
What is this person doing?
Have a garden in your apartment?
This person is taking
Making
the Christmas lights.
Oh, the lights. Yeah, they're definitely going to work if you pull them like that. No way that'll break it. He's a scientist, Charles.
Yeah, make better choices tattoo on the face.
No bicycles in the park, right?
Yeah.
True, that's true. This is not a bicycle, though.
It is a bicycle.
No, it's not.
It is. It's being ridden by an asshole. Have a nice day, Dick. See, that's a person who should know better.
It's
That
probably
guy's not
Andrew
a
Weissman.
teenager.
It's probably Andrew Weissman.
Well, I mean, he's like, oh yeah, it's not a bicycle. It's
I
like,
know.
listen, you want to get into comedy, motherfucker? Just don't like that.
Well, but that's, the argument over whether that's a bicycle is not an argument that I'm going to have or you should have. It's
That's
like
a Democrat.
I know.
That guy's up for batting practice.
I know. I'm just saying that's a tactic that they've learned, that you can waste a lot of time and energy, getting into a mindless argument. And it's like,
That's why.
I think that's one of the reasons Dylan Reed didn't have business cards.
Why?
Well, if you didn't know who we were,
You don't need to.
We don't-
No, I agree. I hate business cards.
well, I mean, just you eliminate the possibility that you're going to have to deal with people like that. But they had them by the time I got there, but they didn't have them until like 1972 or something.
But you see, that's a guy who's like,
An idiot.
yeah, he's voting for all the you need to wear a mask because
I know.
we're in this together, but I'm going to ride a bike in the park because that's what I want to do.
Right.
And what people don't understand, people do understand. It's the assholes who are, friends with George and his brother,
Right.
who are like, oh, Jason's yelling at bicycles. It's because shitheads like that guy
wanna go on
need
this
to
or not?
understand. Let's go to the next one. He can't just decide whatever the hell he wants to do and then tell everybody
Right.
else you have to take a vaccine, you have to wear a mask, you can't say this on Twitter, you have to, coddle the mentally ill and change your behavior to deal with all that. Just get the goddamn bicycle out of the park, you asshole.
Right, and it probably was an expensive bike, and maybe that guy's a fancy pants billionaire.
It's probably some jackass working for NYU.
Yeah, no, don't. Watch this. This is what I'm talking about. I don't think that might be dog. I'm not an expert on.
It's just very.
But if it is dog, it's supposed to be picked up, and so I think it's more likely.
But that would require people to care about anybody other than themselves, which virtually no one does.
Yeah.
It's not even that they have to care for other people. They just have to recognize that if you are discourteous to everybody else, everybody's going to be discourteous to everybody, and we live in a very unpleasant city if we do that.
Now, so another thing I keep meaning to tell you, and I forgot to tell you, is that in that Twitter files dump, when they're talking about the State Department being upset, and commissioning
about
that,
Sperry?
Well, not just Sperry. They talk about this story that there's misinformation shared among Russian, Chinese, and Iranian media.
They just made that up.
That's me. That's some of my stories. And I was talking to our mutual friend, and it's not a cooperation, it's common. In fact, when I was writing for the Washington Times, they had that you get something published in the Washington Times, and they have a long-standing arrangement
goes to certain
the
places.
Jewish. I forget the name of it. It's a good newspaper. Much of my stuff would just be reprinted with permission there. Similarly, Sputnik and the Chinese media agency, I'm not sure which one, have an arrangement where their better stories produced by each organization are translated and sent. Right. And anyway, so that story, there was a time when I was doing more with the Tehran Times and the different, whatever it's called, I forget the name of it now. And they would notice, Sputnik would notice the Iranian one, and the Chinese would notice the Sputnik noticed it, and anyway, they're citing that as misinformation, but it was not misinformation.
Well, that's just it, is that there is no process for determining what is information and what is misinformation. They just simply label it misinformation. And what they were getting to in that Twitter's file thing last night is that Twitter was initially saying, well, we don't have a misinformation policy. And somebody said, oh, well, here's a misinformation policy. Here's a disinformation governance board. Here's all these contractors to the disinformation governance board. One of them looks exactly like George, but stupider, uglier, and shorter, if that's possible to believe. And they're tagging things. And when they say, ooh, you're a foreign agent, now there's a legal basis, according to all of these general counsels of every stupid thing that they got jammed in there, with Alexander McGilvery going from Twitter in 2011 to the White House in 2014, that Katie Jacobs Stanton being installed. By the way, I am mining Adam Sharp's Twitter timeline from all of these historical things that have happened, and he's communicating with and about people who are involved with these Twitter files quite significantly, and it's revealing more evidence of things that it's quite clear that he has done. And we're going to find out very soon, I think, Charles, if there is even a infinitesimal little teeny tiny smidgen of a smudge of a remainder of a scintilla of justice in this rotting out corpse of the once greatest country on earth, because that fat, filthy scumbag is going to have to go to jail pretty soon. What does that say?
Where?
It's trying to link up to somebody's Apple TV in there.
That's right.
That's weird. But the point is, there is so much evidence of all of this. I hope that Matt Taibbi and Elon Musk get to the part where they're stamping out us and they find out what is going on that started this all, because we've got to unravel this thing. And they are looking at what's going on and fighting it from the other side.
Well, it's definitely partially the Clinton Foundation. It's definitely that.
Absolutely, through the Brookings.
And then the fact that we jumped on EcoHealth Alliance so early, that we jumped on Black Lives Matter so early, that we questioned the Obama Foundation so early. I mean, there's just a myriad. Now, this place 10, 15 years ago.
This?
Yeah, it used to be nice. And now I haven't been in. This is like the second or third. It's a very interesting place. There's a bar here. And
who is it in, son?
It says nothing in son, but this, you can't. It's obviously a biologist. But anyway, you go a petri dish in son. Yeah. But you go in here, and in the back, it's just normal here. There's an upstairs dining area, but there's a 2-floor dining room in there. It's very nice. This used to be active. What's going on here?
Ice cream, flowers, and cigarettes.
It's gone.
Well, maybe they need to diversify. Like, yeah,
No,
ice cream's not moving.
last week this was open.
Oh, wow. Well,
This is
how
clear.
does
I
this
mean,
go
it's-
out of business?
Well, because there's an asshole who used to sleep right there and bother every single
Terrorize.
person.
So nobody's coming in.
But-
Boy, isn't that an easy way to put things out of business? Just pay some bum $100 a day to sit outside and terrorize everybody.
But that's sad. This was a really
2
nice.
months, you won't
but
be able to
this
pay the
was a
rent.
really funny and earnest Korean deli.
That's
I
terrible.
would go in there periodically and get a sandwich or whatever.
That's terrible.
Eat
And that's
it in the
probably
park.
somebody who came here 30 years ago and was within a short time of like retiring or whatever, and now everything they invested in that is gone.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Well, Charles, I don't mean to be so negative on today's.
That's all right. We said
I just
it's
think
more
a
of the
lot of
turds.
people are feeling kind of fed up with the. with the situation.
Let's wait on the light.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, here we have the former.
the library.
Yeah, the women's prison is gone. The women's house of detention.
Wasn't it so much more interesting when women were screaming at people from that? It's so scary.
pretty
Why
scary.
would they make it look like a haunted castle and turn it into a
That's
prison?
the courthouse. That's the Jefferson Market Courthouse. And what's missing that you don't see is the prison that used to be higher than it. And
Yeah, that's a good idea. Take that out of the middle of the city.
well, I think it'd probably be. I propose a place, where we could build the Hillary. You want to name something? A prison, a building after Hillary, the Hillary R. Clinton
That's an appropriate thing
Federal
to name it. Put her in
Detention
there.
Center. Yeah, but I
And then
propose
bury her under it.
in Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah.
Be where I'd start with that.
Well, this could be perfect timing because it does seem like it is about to start raining. And, Charles, I don't want to crap up your show talking about this, but there's a lot of exciting things happening on the federal docket, and we're going to find out about that pretty soon. I'm not going to have time for a counter lawfare report for a little while, but we're going to find out what's what, and some other people are too.
Good.
Anything else remaining on your mind here, Charles?
I think this has been a good walk around. It's a pleasure
Yeah,
be
it was
walking
good.
around. And
What's this object to art? Let's just evaluate that for a moment. Kind of
The,
weird looking.
we should mention one thing. We should mention actually.
Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah, somebody had with its head up its ass, please. It's supposed to be a statue to Joe Biden.
Joe Biden.
But drunk, of course. But January 6th.
Oh, yeah.
The anniversary is Friday.
Oh, right.
And perhaps those who know about your famous 5-hour video and have spare time and the inclination, we now have the picture of Ray Epps and some of the other ne'er-do-wells that are out there. And we haven't had the time to go through it, you and I, and watch it together and then comment on it, because that would be a very lengthy show. But I'm wondering if people who have the inclination might be willing to go take a look at it, put up next to your viewing screen pictures of apps, pictures of the various people, and see if you can identify groupings of suspicious-looking people. And then when you can, email them perhaps to you.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is we'll do a show, not the 6th because that's a Friday, but we'll do a show at some point going back over that thing.
It's a good idea.
And I would say, and it's an example of how crowdsource can lead to the
Yes.
truth, right? Because until somebody in Congress has hearings where people are called, were subpoenaed to answer questions under oath, and if you could put Bannon in jail, for
Contempt
this,
of Congress.
then all right, turnabout's fair play, and let's have a real inquiry into what was happening on the 6th, on the run-up to the 6th, why there was no security there. And let's go back and look. I mean, there were several instances in the Trump presidency where there were violent protests.
It just never got investigated.
Yeah, nobody looked at how that came together. Nobody's really looked into how spontaneously, in quotes, all these BLM protests seem to happen and the Antifa protests, the CHOP in Seattle, Portland. And nobody's looked into that.
How Sullivan was able to sell videos for $70,000 to $90,000 and not get arrested,
Right.
and not be in jail this whole time while people at January 6th
Right.
are sitting in D.C.
So people, and maybe there's another tape that's as good as the one you did. I don't know of it. And people they'd be doing us all a great favor if they could go back through it, and then we can focus in. The long sections of that we didn't encounter people, like in the walk from close to where Trump was speaking to the Capitol.
Well, people are going to wonder where to see it, and actually the best place and easiest way to get to it is in fact on Odyssey.com. If people go to Odyssey.com/@ Crowdsource the Truth, or just search for Crowdsource the Truth on Odyssey, and then once you get to the channel, if you click on the content tab, there is a search field that will show up, and if you just type Antifa into that search field on the right, because the thing is called like January 6th Antifa false flag or MAGA gone mad or something like that, so people can find that on there, and you can, while you're visiting Odyssey, you can tap on the membership tab and become a member. I've actually added a $25 membership to Odyssey as well. Everybody who is on Odyssey, whether it's $4, $10, or $25, is going to get the same access. That's a cute Halloween costume.
Getting ready for Halloween or late for Halloween, or
I think when you're a kid and you have a Spider-Man costume, it's always Halloween.
Exactly.
But that was a good way to end the show. I like little kids having fun dressing up as Spider-Man. Charles, thanks for an excellent show. Thanks everybody for watching. Become a sponsor, please. Help me keep going. Help me keep outing these criminal jackasses, whether they're working for Antifa, the FBI, or both. Thanks to everybody, all the viewer sponsors who make it possible. Have a great evening, and let's get out of the rain.